in 2020, IMCD celebrated its 25th anniversary. It started small in 1995, and it has grown into a major player in a consolidated industry. My name is Katrina Sickle. I'm a broadcaster and moderator, and I have the privilege of marking this major milestone with 4 of the company's group business leaders, with whom I'm sharing a virtual space. Welcome, Frank Schneider, who is Business Group Director of Coatings and Construction, Olivier Champeau, who is Business Group Director of Advanced Materials, Marco Madadou, who is Business Group Director of Lubricants and Energy, and Fikri Alemdaroglu, who is Business Group Director of Synthesis. Hello to you. These 4 gentlemen are going to distill their experience and insights and the IMCD approach to one of the biggest issues impacting the industry today, digitalization. Something that may still feel perhaps a little confusing or maybe downright scary, a foreign language to some. Let's find out what this chemical distributor thinks. Gentlemen, if I may, can we start with a couple of definitions so we're all on the same page? For me, digital transformation describes more the effect that digitalization has on industry, economics, and society as a whole. And digitalization that fits in it refers more broadly to the practice of controlling and connecting and planning processes digitally. So in a way, the whole system of change that's happening right now in industries. Does that resonate with you? Those broad descriptions? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, well, if it doesn't, we're going to unpack it. That's just the semantics. In practice, of course, I know from speaking with you before this podcast that digitalization has been a key topic for the chemical industry and, of course, the distribution sector for way more than a decade. And it's absolutely no surprise that the pandemic accelerated its rate of development. So what I would like to explore with you, please, is how does IMCD differentiate itself from its competitors in its ownership and its implementation of digitalization? And as I understand it, as a distributor, your approach differs from both the approach of your suppliers and the approach of your customers. So I'm going to ask you as an opener to complete this sentence, please, for me. Digitalization for IMCD is an opportunity to what? Marco?
But I would say to very easily to fuel our organic growth and to capture new opportunities.
Okay, fabulous. Okay, who wants to be as concise as that? Fikri?
I mean, for us, maybe to enrich the customer and supplier experience.
Thank you. I'm thinking that wasn't a gap there because I didn't think that was a good answer. Yes, indeed. I like that word, enrich. Frank, digitalization for IMCD is an opportunity to
improve our services, which is one of the 3 pillars of our business: products, technologies, services. Digitalization serves primarily to improve services for our customers as well as for our suppliers.
Thank you. And Olivier, well, you come last, so you either agree, disagree. What do you want to bring to the table? What is it an opportunity to do?
I'm very much aligned with my colleagues. I say it's an opportunity to bring a new and additional dimension to the way we conduct the business with our suppliers and customers.
Okay, lots to think about there. I know you're going to unpack that in more detail in this podcast. I think let me just also ask another opener, and that is, has the pandemic, has COVID prompted any kind of change in your digital approach? It may have, it may not have. And if it has, can you just encapsulate what you've seen? Who'd like to start?
Well, I would say probably he has accelerated a process, but something that we already started. I think we had a very strong commitment from our management since a couple of years ago to move into this new era. So I think COVID has, in some cases, accelerated as a kind of bit of catalyst for, to accelerate that. But I think that was already into the IMCD DNA.
That's interesting. Yeah,
you're very much so. I'd say that digitalization for IMCD is really a strategic move. So, as Marco explained, it was pre-existing to the COVID crisis.
Okay.
We saw some higher level of adoption, but the strategy was there, is there. So no real impact, rather else than acceleration.
Okay, that's interesting. So on your journey, your digitalization journey, it really was a kind of an accelerator, but it is something that you have adopted. So more swift adoption. So we'll find out a little bit more about that. Now, another important starting point, I think, I've got a lot of starting point. I think many people and many companies, let's focus on companies, have concerns about the digital transformation as a whole and the relationship between, let's say, man and machine. What I'd quite like to hear from you is perhaps some of the misperceptions that you think that IMCD is challenging in its approach to digitalization.
I do not believe that there is so many different ways of individual digital approaches. You have ERP systems in our business, you have CRM systems, you talk about customer intimacy, how can you win customers? Again, it's about our services. And when you look at the industry is using almost all of us similar tools. It's a question of speed. How fast can you come to an overall solution where all these things were brought together? Because today there is a heavy race in all of these individual elements, and everybody's racing and racing and racing, and the winner will be the ones that bring this all under one umbrella in a format together, where these things are really connected with each other and they are complementary. Today, a lot of these digital tools that we use are individualized, and they are individually standing next to each other. How can we form this to a big whole one advantage, and an advantage for our business partners? This is for me the biggest challenge, and this is here a question of speed, resource, timing.
Building on what Frank is saying, it's absolutely key. This notion of the digitalization that you make for the benefits of our suppliers and customers. It's not a technological push, like you add another IT tool or another element here or there. That's the background. The end result is how does it improve the experience, the way you work, the ability that you bring faster and more growth to your customers and your suppliers. That's the key thing.
That's interesting. And I think what I hear also is, how does it empower your employees who are the ones serving those customers and suppliers? And perhaps what I hear a lot from other sectors is, people are afraid for their jobs with digitalization. They're afraid that everything becomes automated. So perhaps you could challenge that perception.
Yeah, I think is completely the contrary. I mean, that can be the feeling when somebody talking about computers or digital platform, etc. But I think for IMCD is actually empowering our people, actually making their life simple. We want them to go at the customer, to be the customer developing and giving the capability to them, sharing expertise rather than spending time in administrative stuff. So with this digitalization move, we empower them and we free up them from office tasks, and they are able to go to the customer and to attend suppliers, etc. So okay, I think the human factor is even reinforced, I would say.
The human factor and freedom. Yes, Fikri.
Maybe let me add to that, Katrina, what Marco has mentioned. It's very important that when we see it, I mean, Frank also mentioned all these races that's now ongoing, that we are using tools and we are adding different tools at the moment. But at some point, actually, everybody is using the same tool, yeah? So basically, it's not the tool that makes the difference, or it's not the software or the IT program, whatever is making the difference. It's actually chemical distribution. So do you know your customer? Do you know what he needs? Do you know the application? So, and a B2B platform or electronic, whatever, is not replacing this passion for sales, for chemical products that we have. That's not changing. It's still the human is there, but maybe the tools we are using, it's not the phone, but it's the other platforms that we are using.
Okay, that's very interesting. I hear very much, if I can encapsulate, because it's important as a sort of a bedrock for the rest of our discussion. You're saying, Frank, where I think IMCD has really got it is you need to integrate all sorts of elements when we think digitalization, and that's where you are really thinking right and correctly because of the speed of change. It's this notion of integration. I heard about enriching experiences, looking outwards. So perhaps what IMCD is doing is looking outwards, not just inwards at processes. You use the word there, Marco, freeing up. We've heard freedom for your people throughout this series. So we heard freeing up. That's absolutely critical. And I love that, Fikri, that description. Well, they're essentially tools in the hands of these fabulous people who are helping to change the dynamics and the lives of your customers and suppliers. So I think our audiences and our viewers really would be interested to hear some of the concrete examples that IMCD is demonstrating in its approach, its implementation. And I think they're not, it could be anything from your working methodologies, your marketing practices to, well, all sorts of other examples towards your customers and suppliers. So can I have some examples, please? Who would like to kick us off?
Connecting business intelligence to have a much bigger scope of technological expertise available. That's something that we did. We have now, we know exactly, and we connect our labs, we connect our technical teams. We know exactly how a formulation functions in New Zealand, and we can use that to translate it to a problem that turns up in Canada, for example. That was absolutely impossible 5 years ago.
Okay.
Another example, if you remember, we spoke previously about partnering with our suppliers, co-creation with our suppliers. What we are able to do now is to connect our CRM systems with some suppliers, meaning when we have type of new projects, of new development, we can work, our teams can work very efficiently with the R&D teams of our suppliers. It makes a big revolution in the way you really work together. The same project you discuss very concretely, and instead of spending time about tools, you spend time on working together.
I'd also
and also an additional point is the complexity that we had, having so many suppliers, having so many products in our, because we are not a producing company. We have very much different suppliers that we are serving to our customers, and also it's increasing the cross-selling rates. Let's say this is also giving value to our suppliers and also to our customers, because they have the advantage to get actually additional material, to get better material from our suppliers.
So at the outset, I did mention that obviously digitalization has been around for a while. It's nothing that's cropped up in the last couple of years. But as I like to call you, Frank, the man with the mileage, let's look at a little bit of the history here with IMCD. And let me ask you, how has it evolved in its approach to digitalization? What have you seen in that evolution?
I saw this not only at IMCD, but I saw it specifically at IMCD that companies and IMCD very specifically was very much ERP centered. We were inward looking. We were an inward looking company. We were looking into numbers, developments, things like that. It was all driven by finance and figures, but not by real market or business intelligence. And this has shifted in the past years or over a longer period of time to a CRM centered company. And digital for us means looking outside today, much more to customers, to suppliers, to the markets, seeing where can we fit in, how can we further develop for our customers, for our suppliers, and then also for ourselves.
So that's very interesting to hear about that evolution from inward looking to outward facing. I just want to address what I perhaps term the elephant in the room. In terms of the future for a distributor, is there a fear of what I hear is the word chamazon, this sort of big chemical B2B platforms, and what your role is going to be in the future? Any thoughts on that, gentlemen?
I mean, having worked, Katrina, in, let's say, producing companies and just recently moved into distribution, what I can say is, in a distribution, it's not only having a platform and selling a chemical like a trader. Basically, there is the market knowledge which you need to be having. There is the application know-how that you need to be possessing, let's say, for your sales to conquer. You cannot be having an IT guy sitting there and programming for you your sales. Otherwise, the life would have been such easy.
Yeah.
Having said all of this, of course, one has to say, we are discussing always these things with Frank and with Marco, Olivier. It's a journey. Surely it's a journey. And some of the products maybe we are selling, we cannot be selling now through our method anymore. Maybe that will go away. But the idea of selling a specialty chemical by having the market expertise will remain.
Okay, so that's what we've heard already, the human factor.
Exactly, the human element.
I think that's what I'm picking up here. Yes, Marco, Olivia, I heard a voice there.
Yeah, again, digitalization is about adding something else to the customer and supplier experience. It's not about substituting the human factor by IT tool or purely transactional.
Okay.
Absolutely, yeah. I think process optimization, and again, as Fikri and Olivier said, people are behind the scenes, and they are the real protagonists of our developments. So,
on that note, and because that's something that you all very much share that opinion, is there any couple of examples that you can give of how you talked earlier, empowering? You said we're not replacing, we're giving them the tools to enrich the experiences of our customers and our suppliers. Any examples of how that's happening internally?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. Let's make a very easy example. I mean, we had laboratories, and we could not host in our laboratories all our customers. Now, with this digital platform, we are able to really deliver an experience, having our customer in digital platform connected with our lab. So our technical people work in the lab can actually show their job and their work to an audience which is like 100 times bigger than before.
Interesting. Anything else, Fikri? I don't know whether you...
I mean, let's say basically those technical webinars where we share the information, I mean, let's say of our new products, of our new developments, of the new suppliers that we are getting. I think those are now moving in a much faster speed than, let's say, before. That is, let's say, a good addition. But this doesn't mean that the tool is doing that. The tool is not doing anything. Actually, the people are doing that, yeah.
And one more illustration is, if you think about IMCD, we have about 50 labs in the world. Historically, kind of each lab was a kind of standalone unity or small team. When we connect the labs together, virtually, if you are in a lab, you are no longer one lab. You are part of virtually a much bigger lab. Instead of being alone, facing the challenge of your customer, you are immediately a community with your colleagues from South Africa, from Asia, from Northern Europe, from the Americas. That makes a huge difference for our people in the way they work together, in the way they can leverage the technical expertise of their colleagues and all the accumulated experience of IMCD.
Thank you, Olivier. I've got another thought in my head that's been hanging around, and I need to get it out there. You talk, gentlemen, all of you, about how digitalization within the context of IMCD is really equipping your people, you call them people, your employees, to do a better job. But I've got to ask that question, is there a divide between the younger ones, the digitally savvy, and the older ones? And if there is, how do you deal with that?
Very good point, Katrina. Companies tend to underestimate the total differentiation between people. We have people that are 20, just entering, coming from a total digital background, never played with a physical toy, but always with a computer in their hands. And then you have these old guys like me who are, or old folks like me who are have not grown up in that. And I think the most important thing that we very often forget internally is we have to make sure that all of us feel comfortable when using this digital world or working in this digital world. And we as a company, as IMCD, have a strong focus on that to bring everybody on a similar level, to help everybody to understand digitalization as we understand it as IMCD, giving people opportunities to learn, to study, to give them not only technical advice, but also digital advice and digital trainings. And that for me is a very important point. And I think this is where we also can differentiate ourselves. With 3,000 employees around the globe, and nobody should be left behind, we have to take everybody with us. And that means that everybody needs to understand what we're doing and has to believe in it and has to then sacrifice to it.
Thank you for elucidating that, and I heard the words there, don't leave anybody behind, and I would add, well, the way you explained it, digital literacy. You need to ensure within the context of you as a chemical distributor, with all of those people of different ages and backgrounds and cultures working for you, that digitalization is open for all of them, that it doesn't create fears for any of them, and that they are all on that journey with you. So I very much heard that. Marco, did anyone want to add before I move on, gentlemen? Or
no, absolutely agree with Frank. And I would say that I will emphasize the fact also that our digital journey goes into this e-learning platform. We invest substantially as a company. So all our people have access to trainings and information that could bring them into this digital journey.
Okay, so you're using digital in order to enhance their experience of digital. Okay, so we've looked at some of the things that are going on. We've unpacked what's happening inside for your people. We've unpacked how you are adding value or creating opportunities for suppliers and customers within this context. I need to now ask what's happening next. If you had to pinpoint one, possibly two things in the agenda for development on IMCD's digital journey, what would that be?
I can start for my business group. We have in the agenda, we're working hard on that because it's a very big project to launch the first virtual exhibition for business group lubricants and energy. And the aim is to bring together supply and customers and our lab and to create a kind of, let's say, virtual environment where everybody can exchange experience and bring value back home.
I mean, as you mentioned, Katrina, this is a journey basically. So we are, let's say, improving, and we are also, by the way, learning from this experience. But what we can say is that by using all these tools, we are still going to be the #1 specialty chemical distributor in this digital environment. That is basically our aim, and that will remain to be our aim in this, let's say, all changing world. Yeah.
Two things I would say, again, first, strategic move and strategic pillar for IMCD. It's a journey. We have been investing. We will keep investing very significant amounts in this because we see a major point for us. And the other one would be a bit of teasing. About 15 years ago, IMCD innovated with the labs. We are now connecting the labs. And without saying too much, we are also starting a new initiative to make the next generation. So people need to stay tuned to IMCD because big things are coming.
I think connecting to what I had mentioned before, bringing all of us together and under the same umbrella, having a very strong connection internally, at the same time using every moment and every single move to bring our customers and our suppliers together, and then all of us under this external umbrella as well. So having all a similar understanding what is in for us. And when I say for us, it is what is in for us as IMCD, but specifically what is in for our employees as well. What is in for our customers, what is in for our suppliers, what is in for all our stakeholders. I think this is a message where we are not 100% where I would like to be. The messaging here has to be a bit more offensive, and we have to be closer to this.
I think it's very interesting to hear that this evolution has also come about because of the real buy-in, the real leadership from top management, which you have said, and very interesting that you see digitalization very much as something that is integrated, an integrated approach, integrated actions and activities. When I have discussed it with other sectors, sometimes it's very split between data, between a website, between an operation or a process. So that's something I very much hear, and also the fact it's a journey and that your employees are critical in that journey, whether they're 20 or whether they're 65. So some real nice clarity there, gentlemen. Because we are at the end of our series, I want to ask you, please, a more generic closing question. It's a very, very important one, I think, that your suppliers and your customers would like to hear your answers to. Of course, there are these big changes, these huge trends. And sometimes I wonder, how do these trends balance, perhaps collide or conflict with a company's growth? You know, if you had to reassure your customers and suppliers on this journey with them, what would you say in that respect?
We are not stuck to one technology. I mean, some players, or many players in the chemical industry, are limited to a technology that they have developed at a certain moment, and I think the best companies and the ones that will really survive successfully are the ones that, again, are very open to new developments and are prepared to make very disruptive developments and very disruptive changes. Same for us. If we want to play a strong role in this, we have to balance out completely the interests of the society, of the community, of our planet, and the products that you need to live. I mean, you could be very radical and say we stop driving now and we stop car production completely, mobility down to horses, back to horses again. We could do that. That won't work. We need to find a way, and we mentioned that in an earlier stage. We need to find ways to evolve these things, and that means balancing out. It's a world of challenges that we see, a world of threats as well, but that at the same time offers a world of opportunity, and that is something that for me is the most important point. This bigger picture is very important.
Well, thank you, and very interesting to hear how you can manage that balance and what your role is as a distributor to do so. And I'd like to hear from the other gentlemen, and I suppose a nice way of encapsulating it would be to sort of say, for the next 25 years of IMCD's journey, why should the supplier and the customer invest in a relationship with you, with your company? So how are you striking that balance that Frank spoke of, and taking them along for the ride?
I would say for the last 25 years and for the next 25 years, we see ourselves as the extension of our suppliers, meaning it is our duty to share what we see in the marketplace, the trends, what's going on, customer expectations. It is our duty to feed this back to our suppliers. It is also our duty to accompany them in the transition. As Frank is mentioning, things are changing. They are not happening overnight. We have a key role to play to help our partners identify how they can benefit from those things happening, how they can gradually transition their business.
Thank you very much. And I like that word, because it makes me think, that word of duty, it's a good word. It makes me think that you have a duty of care, because you know, the products and that you are putting out there are products that impact all of us in our daily lives. So there is that duty. Very interesting how you explain that there. Marco, Fikri, let me give you an opportunity.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's a journey. We talk about journey, and it will be a journey hand on hand. I mean, we will have to be very close to customers, suppliers, and to make this journey together. I think, Oliver say extension means, we feel like you feel. So our supplier, our customer know very well where the world is going. we know where the goal is going. We knew 25 years ago, and we will be there in 25 years.
Thank you. I like that. That's a good start. We feel like you feel. That's a nice one. Oh, it's said like a true Italian, I think, if anyone's going to say it. Fikri, what would you like to say?
I mean, having joined just recently to this company, of course, I see that it's my duty, of course, to let's say, have a successful next 25 years. And I think the basically, when you see it, one essential point is the simplification of the business for our suppliers and creating value for our suppliers and customers, and always being close to the market. I mean, basically our value is how we know the market and how we know the technical details, and also nothing to forget, the passion to sell these chemicals.
Thank you so much, and lovely, because passion has been a word that's come up a lot, and transitioning and accompanying and a duty of care. We feel what you feel. So, gentlemen, on those warm and fuzzy but very, very important and pertinent points there, I'm going to bring our conversation and this 5th episode in this podcast series to a close. It really has been a pleasure to find out more about how IMCD's digital transformation is opening up literally a world of opportunity for its customers and suppliers, but critically also its employees, its people. And I do hope that the viewers and the listeners have taken away some interesting food for thought. So as I said, this podcast is part of a smorgasbord of activities that have been launched to celebrate IMCD's 25th anniversary. It is a major milestone. And of course, we explored some of those elements that are part of its history and its continuing journey in the whole podcast series. So apart from digitalization, what have we looked at, gentlemen? Innovation, sustainability, growth, and talent management. And of course, all of them overlap and all of them feed each other. If you have anything to say about or ask about points in this episode or any of the episodes, send a message to podcast@imcdgroup.com. And if you didn't catch any of the others, well, you can. It's never too late. So that's a wrap from me, gentlemen. Thank you so much for your company over the course of these discussions.
Thank you, Katrina. Thank you.
I've so enjoyed sharing the virtual space with you.
Pleasure.
And guess what? I look forward to celebrating with you all IMCD's 50th anniversary in 2045. We're not going to say how old we will all be. But until then, with a great deal of passion from me to you as very, very passionate people, the very best of luck in your endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Same to you. Cheers.